Okay, episode 44, Spear Tackle, take 5. Timo, how are you?
Yes, Brenton. I'm fantastic. Hopefully, this is the take that we get it. It seems like everything is against us at the moment to do this episode.
Yeah, well, this episode we'll be doing a preview of the round 3 of the URC. I'm very excited for it. I'm wearing my shark shirt because we've only lost 2 games so far, and I'll wear it now before the rest of the losses and before it becomes unbearable to wear it. So yeah, Timo, how are you feeling?
No, I'm good. I think it's a good weekend. Obviously, I'm not experiencing the URC the same way that you are. My URC thus far has been pretty good though. I've my team is
And will
actually
only
pitched
get
up.
better.
Hopefully,
Yeah,
hopefully we can stay fit and
yeah,
and whatnot, and not lose out on a lot of the players and stuff. So
yeah.
and have injuries and stuff. Um,
And you guys were, last season, the Stormers had it really, really bad.
yeah, it
Yeah,
was it was a bit brutal. And when we got to the playoffs, it was just like way too much to do with way too little game time and stuff.
mm, mm,
But to jump straight into it, round 3 of the URC kicking off tomorrow night. 2 matches at 8:45 South African time, obviously.
mm.
Um, Munster, Edinburgh, and Scarlets versus the Stormers. The hope of South Africa this year, and hopefully we can get our second title.
Title, yeah.
Mm. Munster, Edinburgh. Um, Deja vu moment there for me. It's like we've discussed this 4 times before now. Um, but yeah, no. Munster should have an easy win. I know Edinburgh is getting a lot of their players back, like we've mentioned before. um, but yeah, I think
Four
it should.
times.
Yeah, I think it should be an easy win for Munster. The
I
unbeaten.
also think so. Edinburgh do have their British and Irish Lions that are back. I think most of the teams will have their Lions back. In the form of Piers Kuman and Duan van der Merwe. But yeah, I agree. I think Munster are going to take it. They're unbeaten. It's only 2 games in, but they're really not looking that bad.
Yeah. Yeah, so I put Munster for easy win, probably by about 20 points. I don't think they're going to have a too hard time. I think match fatigueness with Edinburgh missing last weekend, I think it's going to get to them. Then the main game of the weekend, like I mentioned, obviously the game all South African supporters are looking forward to the most, which
All the
is
Stormers supporters are looking forward for the most.
yeah, Scarlets versus the Stormers. And our first away game for the season. But we're also doing an away game where we are having our well, you mentioned bolstered up with Springboks.
Yeah, 100%.
But I do feel we only got the 2 back, which is Sasha
The
and
two best ones back.
and Sasha and Damien. Well, they're slotting into
Yeah,
the positions that people
yeah,
would consider their favorite positions. Fly off and fullback. Would have liked to see Kobus Reinach get a start this weekend. So not sure if there's an
100%.
injury or something there that we are unaware of. But yeah, so second of the log going up against the last team on the log.
Yeah, Scarlets can be tricky. I mean, I think last season the Bulls lost to them at home, and I mean we know how far the Bulls got into that competition. But yeah, I think this Stormers team were looking so good without their regular Springboks, and now they've got a Sasha Feinberg-Gomezulu who's in phenomenal form, and a Damien Willems who's in phenomenal form back. So I think they're going to be very, very good. I won't write off the Scarlets too much. I do think the Stormers are going to win with a margin, but I wouldn't. It's definitely not a shit team that they're playing against. I mean, the Scarlets have Blair Murray, Ellis Mead that we enjoyed watching. Who made his debut for Wales in the Six Nations, and I thought he was very good. Marnus van der Merwe, our newest Springbok, is going to be on as a hooker. But yeah, ultimately, I think the Stormers are just looking very, very good. Wandisile Semanani, who was in brilliant form, slotting at outside centre. So I think this backline is fire. Like you said, Kobus Reinach might have been just giving them that little bit of an extra nudge. But I think, I mean, Unger is not a bad player. I actually enjoy Unger very much. He's got a certain aura around him. But I do think that this backline is fire. It's real. This is a very, very strong backline.
Yeah. That's the thing, obviously, we lost Paul de Vet in the off-season to the Bulls, and we lost Angela Davids to the Lions and whatnot. So, also Suleiman Harsenberg playing this weekend as well. So the backline's definitely...
He's not playing this weekend.
Is he not? I'm sure he was on the team sheet.
I can put it up. I don't think so. Leonel Zas, Sabelos and Atla.
Oh, maybe maybe I misread then. But yeah, so I still think Sabelo has had an amazing start to this season. So Milani moving from fullback to the outside centre this week. I was very skeptical about that whole move to fullback, but he did very well at fullback.
Yeah,
he did. Considering that he's probably our fourth or fifth choice in fullback, and then obviously feeling for a guy like Yuri Mattia. Which I feel has really grown in stature, but you're up against like you would like to say probably the best fly-off that we've seen in a very long time in South Africa. So but I think that I hope the Stormers win by 70, but I only picked them by 15. So,
I'll probably also say Stormers by about 10 to 15.
Yeah. Then moving on to Saturday, probably the match we want to watch, but probably not going to watch. One of the matches that ideally I'm going to watch it, and out of hope, that pure South African supporting, which is Benetton versus the Lions at 4:00 South African time, and Lions obviously still touring. So I don't know. It's so hard for me to even pick the Lions for a win in Benetton, although I think they tied on the log. If I'm not mistaken. They're not tied on the log, but yeah. So
the Lions all the way at the bottom, if I'm not mistaken.
No, they're 13th. They've. I don't know. It's a difficult one for me because I really hope the Lions pitch up, and as we discussed in our earlier in the week, the Lions have so much potential, and it's like they've you can have 23 Springboks in your team if you've got one of the shittest coaches and shittest management in the world running your club and coaching your players. They're going to look bad. I did pick the Lions for a win out of pure South African idiocy to win it, but I hope the Lions win. Benetton currently, they're ninth on the log, played one, lost one. Lions obviously played two, lost two. So
look, Benetton is not a shit team. They're definitely the better of the two Italian teams. I mean, last season they were very good. I think they just missed out in the playoffs. Or they just made it, I can't remember. But I mean, they got players like Reino Smith, the fullback. He's actually kicked the winning drop goal against Glasgow Warriors the last round. So Benetton is actually very far from a bad team. I think they did lose Umaga, who I thought was very good. But it is a very good, it is a good team. Definitely not. I don't think these Italian teams are as shit as they used to be. I mean, Zebra had a win over the Lions the last season. In fact, Zebra has gone unbeaten. They also beat Edinburgh. I know it's only two games in, and a lot's going to change. That log's going to jump up and down like crazy still. But Benetton is definitely the better of the two Italian teams. And the Lions, I think, and I've mentioned this before, during the Currie Cup, they were playing a lot of their URC players to try and give them a head start. I think that was the reason for, to try and get them a head start going into the URC and sort of try and shake off that rustiness earlier, which hasn't really worked out for them. They've looked terrible, and there's no other way to say it. They've looked very, very bad. And the difference between the Lions and the other South African teams is, if you look at, for instance, the Sharks, and this might be a bit biased, I mean, the Sharks haven't looked hot either. They've been very, very bad. But the difference is the Sharks I'll probably say this, and the Sharks will probably still lose. They'll find a way to lose. But anyways, the Sharks have a Eben Etzebeth, a Oxen Che, a Ethan Hooker who's just come back. A Mapimpi, a Pelele Fassi, Andre Estres, and that still needs to come back and sort of bolster the team. Whereas the Lions have Mornay van den Berg. So the Lions need to find something to sort of try and change their season, which is very early in the season, around as quickly as possible, and they've had sort of a bad start to it already. They've had 2 losses already. They've lost to Zebra. I can't even remember who the previous team was, and that they lost to. But Cardiff, they lost to Cardiff. And let's be honest, those are not the 2 best teams in the URC. So those are the sort of wins, especially on the road, that you sort of have to get, before you start taking on the bigger teams, before you start playing those must-win matches, So, yeah, I don't know. It's not looking very good for the Lions, to be honest with you. Mornay van den Berg is very, very good, but who else do they have, that is returning? And like we've mentioned, we've made a hype video around the Lions. We know how good they can be, and they've got such brilliant players. I think Ron Venter is such a beast. He looked brilliant when he got his cap for the Springboks, and I think he's such a monster. Henko van Wyk, Quine Horn, you love Quine Horn, brilliant players, So I think, yeah, they need to sort of relook or look at themselves and try and figure out what's going on, what's not working for them, because they're playing a lot worse than they should be playing.
No, definitely I agree. And that's why I said I feel it's a team that's got so much potential, and they're just being massacred by horrible coaching and by horrible franchise management. But hopefully they win. I do think. Look, the thing is this with Benetton. These 2 teams play a very similar style. They like attacking rugby, and they like the game to be loose. And I feel that it's going to come down to the bounce of the ball between these 2 teams at the end of this match, because I think if it bounces for the Lions are going to just run away with it, and if it bounces for Benetton, they're probably going to run away with it. I do think on a tour based on these teams playing very, very similar rugby, I do edge the Lions though at Ellis Park. But then they're playing away, so I'm going to edge Benetton for this one, unfortunately. But I do
also saying Benetton by 10.
Yeah. Then the next match happening at 4:00. This is one I'm a bit excited for, and I'll tell you why now. But it's also 4:00 South African time, which is the Ospreys versus Zebra Parma. Why I'm excited for this is the Ospreys came to South Africa. They played the Bulls, they played the Stormers, and they actually didn't look that bad. I
agree.
I think ultimately they succumb to that South African pressure. Traveling, playing probably obviously the 2 top franchises in South African rugby at the moment on their own turf is hard. But I don't think they look that bad. I just think they ran out of gas halfway through the second half, because the Bulls only really got past them halfway through the second half by about 60 minutes or there, and the Stormers as well. It was only after about 55-60 minutes where the Stormers really took control of that match. And they're going up against Zebra Parma, who's also got their tails in the air.
They're unbeaten.
Being 2 out of 2, So Ospreys at home, I like the way they play. They're a very attacking side. They're a positive side. They like to they try and keep the game alive as much as possible, which is nice to see. And they've got young players. Their players are very fiery and stuff. So I've edged the Ospreys in this one. I think being back home, playing against Zebra, I think they lost 2 out of 2, but they lost 2 out of 2 against really, really good opposition.
Yeah, they had a very bad, a very unlucky start almost,
Yes, I think so.
Having to start your campaign in South Africa against, like you said, the 2 top franchises in South Africa. But I agree 100% with you. They didn't look bad. When the passes were sticking, they looked dangerous, They had the Bulls and the Stormers at one stage, and just luckily for us, the Bulls and the Stormers were able to claw back. Zebra also, Zebra not a bad team. I wouldn't say they're up there yet. I think they're still a mediocre team. And I'm not trying to be nasty or anything. I think the Lions just look worse than them last weekend, and I think they were also with Edinburgh as well. So I think Ospreys are going to beat them. I'm going to say by 10 to 15 points. It would still be sad because I mean Zebra, you know, it's good to see them going unbeaten. You know,
Yeah,
for such a short.
and a lot of passion. You know, they're both the Italian
100%.
sides, Benetton and Zebra. They've got a lot of passion that goes into these matches. You know.
The one thing I can't take about the Italian sides, though, especially if you play in Italy, is the drums that they beat.
Yeah, it's very
like
frustrating.
I think they're doing it on purpose because it's so like offbeat. It's not like it's not like a dinky or anything. It's just boom, boom, and you struggle to concentrate. Maybe that's part of the. But anyways, yeah.
We still don't have to play them in Italy, right? So you know, but yeah, no, I'm looking forward to. I think it's going to be a good match to watch. I think Zebra probably might think they're edging the Ospreys based on the fact that the Ospreys lost twice, and Ospreys obviously want to go home and show their fans, listen, don't write us off. Yeah. Just remember, we've played, you know, probably two of the better sides in World Rugby when it comes to club competitions. Yeah. Moving on, a match that I'm not going to be watching. 6:30 South African time. Glasgow versus the Dragons. Glasgow has had an average start for me to the season. You know, the problem with your Scottish and Irish sides that I've kind of picked up is that when they lose their international players, they don't really have a lot to fall back on, and it seems like the players that they fall back on, that they're really not that good. So you know, you're looking at Glasgow played 2 games, only won 1, and Dragons played two games, and they actually drew 1, which was against your team, you know, last weekend, in whatever swimming pool they were playing in. You know, so I do think Glasgow probably also going to get a lot of their players back from Lions duty and stuff. So I feel that they probably will edge this one, being at home and all that. And Franco Smith will probably already have a game plan that he's worked out to counter their poor match last weekend. So I think Glasgow Warriors should take this by easy 20 points as well.
I'm going to say also 20 points. Look, I also like the Glasgow Warriors. I think they haven't had the best start to the URC, and they were very rusty in the first game. The Sharks were just terrible, and in the second game they lost to Benetton. But still, I think they probably will get better. You know, a lot of people think that they or reckon that they are probably one of the top 3 teams in the URC. I don't think so. I mean they have won the URC. Well done to them for that. I think there's a lot of teams. Let me rather not just say this before I get out of bait. But anyways, I think the Glasgow Warriors by 20 points.
Yeah, look, the Glasgow is going to probably end up finishing top 8 in any case.
They always do, but
yeah, because they have a quality coach. You know, if you, for example, can you imagine what a guy like Franco Smith will do at the Lions? You know, as an example, you know, a proper coaching talented players, and it's obviously shown. I mean, he went in the year they did win the URC. That was against the flow of everything that
100%. They were written off coming to Pretoria.
Yeah, and but also he plays such an exciting brand of rugby, you know. And if it's again similar, just can he keep his players fit? That's the thing, you know.
You see, the thing with Franco Smith, and I've said this before, I think he's got something good in this team, you know. There's a lot of good players. You're not taking anything away from the players. We're not just because South African coach, you're proud of him. We are proud of him, but he got something. He sort of makes these guys believe that they are champions before they were even champions. I mean, they were written off after the Bulls. I mean, the Bulls played the finals against Leinster. They beat them. They went to the finals. This was 2020.
No, it was not last season, the season before,
Season before. And you know, Glasgow Warriors were written off completely. I thought, you know, I was celebrating after the Bulls beat Leinster like the Bulls have won the URC. And Glasgow showed up, you know. So I think they've got a very good culture in the Glasgow Warriors. I wouldn't be too hard on them for losing against Benetton. It's a long season. They still will get up there. And like you said, they probably will make the playoffs. They do every season. If you had to ask me now who's going to win it, I don't think it's going to be them. But anyways, next game.
Yeah, moving on. And I'm going to say this, and it's going to be very controversial. Also, 6 South African time on Saturday. To be honest with you, and no hate on this, for me, the two most underwhelming sides in the URC at the moment, based on where we know they should be and where they are, Leinster versus the Sharks. Leinster has had a horrific start to this URC, and the Sharks are not very far behind them. You know, the draw last weekend was very disappointing for me. Although I am going to contribute that to the way that it was such horrific conditions to play in.
Leinster being. You go.
No. So Leinster, the big thing that the Sharks need to worry about, Leinster's also getting a lot of their players back. And at home, in that home, the advantage that you've got, the players that are coming back for the Sharks played in the UK last weekend, you know, so they probably didn't shift back to South Africa.
No, they didn't. They flew.
Yeah, so they probably stayed there. So they're going to have a bit more match fitness. And I felt you mentioned Ethan Hooker coming back. I think Ethan Hooker had a fantastic rugby championship. I think he grabbed it with both hands. You're bringing back the old dog Mapimpi, who's still in good form, you know. So I think can the Sharks potentially disrupt Leinster, and we're all going to sit at the end of this week and go like, holy shit? Or the option that I'm looking at in general is that Leinster are hurt and they're going to come back like
what's going to happen.
House on Fire, because the Stormers humiliated them. They kind of put up a fight against the Bulls, but the Bulls also ultimately humiliated them, you know.
That David Kriel intercept try, I mean, that just...
And Sebastian de Klerk made their backline look like a bunch of noobs, you know. He was hitting every single gap that there possibly 100%. Was. So I think it can be a very good game if the Sharks pitch up, and Plumtree maybe took a couple of days off and didn't coach, and somebody else that stepped in probably told the team to do something right. And Leinster, obviously, we know what quality outfit Leinster can be. On paper, full strength, Leinster is probably one of your top 5 clubs in world rugby in total.
100%.
And the Sharks, I feel, with the players that they've got and the players that's coming in, should probably be in the same position. But it tends like it's like there's not that fire under them when they're playing in the black and white. Compared to when they're playing for the green and gold, you know, and it's sad to see that.
That's the old story. That's always been the case. The fucking Sharks. but I agree with you. Leinster and Sharks are two most underwhelming teams. But I know the Leinster fans won't be too harsh on their team. I mean, they did send a second string team to South Africa, you know. And they are getting a lot of the Lions back. So initially, when I saw the Sharks team, and I don't know if we do have it, but so we can display it. But if not, I mean, we have Ethan Hooker, Edel van der Merwe, and Mapimpi, 3 wingers playing in the back line with Edel van der Merwe and fullback, and then Lukanya. And then Lukanya back on 12. So I'm not. And then Marlon Rudy and Jason Jenkins are as a lock pairing, and Bongi Manambi also coming back. So I got excited. I thought, you know what, fuck it, the Sharks might get their big win or their first win by any margin this season against Leinster. And then Leinster posted their training photos, and I saw Tide Furlong, and I saw Dan Sheehan, and I saw...
I was reading your WhatsApp post that you sent today, and I was like, yo...
So I think, we see on the group, I posted the Sharks team, and I, with the fire emoji, and thought, fuck yes, we're doing it. And when I saw that, I posted it, and I still said, fuck it, we're getting smashed, So I think it's going to be, and exactly what you said. I mean, maybe not embarrassed, but I think Leinster, I don't think they've ever lost their first 3 games in the URC. This is the team that's consistently been in the top 2 or 3, in the top 8. Or 2 or 3 in the competition. I mean, they've made finals. They won it last year. Everyone's always said that Leinster is one of the best club teams, like you said yourself. So I don't think I think that their fans, or I think forget the fans. I think they'll be very harsh on themselves. The big boys are coming back, and they're going to want to prove a point. Unfortunately, it is my South African team that's going to be slaughtered, or a sacrifice for them to prove that they are still one of those top teams. So I think Leinster are going to smash him, and I won't be surprised if it's going to be by 30 points.
I'm hopeful. Let me put it this way. I do think Leinster are going to win based on what we see on paper. But I mean, you guys are not fielding you guys are not fielding a bad team. Marvin Orie
No,
has
100%
been a
not.
bit of a revelation. I feel to the Sharks. He's kind of brought a bit of that consistency into your lineouts. Fez Botha hasn't had the worst season so far on hooker compared to. I felt last year your hookers were very, very, very underwhelming. I mean, you've got and Vincent Tatsuka, a player that I've been very critical on during the
Very
last
good,
season. Has kind of
Yeah.
disproved me. He's pitched up. He had his bit of a stint
Yeah.
at the South Africans, and I felt that he should have probably gotten a lot more.
A little more. He probably will get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Considering he plays, eighth man and flanker, and he's a physical player, good on defense, good on attack, solid hands and stuff. I feel that this is where your big problem is for me at the moment. Is you don't have a 9 and 10 that really matters. It's like your 9 and 10 are not cohesive. I'm looking at Jaden Hendrickse and John Smith, and then you're running. You've got your what's the other guy? Siamasuku.
On the bench.
I would have probably swapped John Smith around with Siamasuku, because I feel that you'll probably have a bit more of the cohesion there. With that, because they've probably played a bit more together. And I mean, at the moment, you look at the Sharks backline, for example, Makazole Mapimpi, Lucanio Jurenzo Julius, Ethan Hooker, and Edward van der Merwe. That backline screams running rugby, right?
100%.
And if they fire, they're going to be as exciting to watch as
But they've been very flat. Yeah, they've been very flat on attack, though. You see, the problem to me is not the players. I think we've got some of the best players in the world in that team, especially if you look at Ox and Che. It's like they're not as cohesive, like you said yourself, in the black and white, like they are in the green and gold. And I don't think I mean that's fair. You can never expect, probably except in France, but a player to play as well for his club as he does for his country. But they don't even come close to that. I don't think the problem is the players. I mean, I think the Sharks, a full strength Sharks team, is a world class team. On paper, but they'll still find a way to look shit, even if they win, or even lose, or get 20 or 30 points put on them by a full strength Leinster team. But so I don't think the problem is the Sharks have been very vocal about Plumtree. I think he was very good for the Sharks before. I just don't think he's our guy, to be honest with you. I think the Sharks have a massive coaching problem. I mean, you give that exact team to a better coach or a different coach, and I guarantee you'll get different results. So I don't know. It might be a cultural thing. I don't know. It might be the fact that the culture within the team is not what it would be at another team or within the Springboks. Maybe then they don't work together as well, or they're not as cohesive. I don't know. But if you look at that team on paper, you should be much more confident about that team than I am at the moment, to be honest with you.
But that was your story of last season, wasn't it? Because
the season.
It was like you look at the Sharks team and you go like, easy win.
Yeah,
and then 74 minutes, you guys are like throwing the kitchen sink at them because you're behind with 1 point. And then I look at the Rugby Championship where you've got guys like Sia Kolisi who looked shit last year during the URC. Eben, who didn't have the best URC for me when he played. You're looking at the players that has come out of the Sharks team that went to the Springboks team, and they're completely different players. So at what point? And this is my question, because if we as fans can see that there's a problem there in the amount of quality players you've got, and in your results. Last year the Sharks finishing 4th in the URC was not a good result for the Sharks. Because you were supposed to, you were supposed to be being one, be 1 or 2, and have a home semi-final, have a home final and stuff. And even when it came to the playoffs, you guys didn't really look that hot in the playoffs, So I feel that the Sharks need to have that. There needs to be a change. There needs to be a change, especially at the Sharks. There needs to be a change, especially at the Lions. They put out franchises and stuff, and I feel that what's happening there, especially from the coaching perspective, is horrendous for South African rugby. And I mean, are you really that money hungry as a coach in cash and Plumtree that you're going to hold on to this at the cost of player careers, at the cost of player development. I mean, it's for me, it's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you have anything you want to add to that, or
I don't think plan three. To be honest with you, if the Sharks are on this trajectory, this is the last thing I'll say. But I don't think plan three will last very long. And when you look at Neil Powell, when he chased Sean Everett is coaching Edinburgh at the moment. When he chased Sean Everett, was it 3 seasons ago, 4 seasons ago? So I think also Neil Powell also will eventually look at saying to himself or to whoever that is giving certain coaches this magnificent team. They're spending a shitload of money. We still have Thomas the Tank Toy who's coming back to the Sharks. Marius van der Merwe who's in rumor to come back. They've got the players.
For sure.
Surely the problem is not with them. But anyways, before I can carry on for hours about the Sharks. So let's move on to the next game. The next game, Cardiff versus Connacht.
Yeah, there's 2 games at the same time, 9:15 South African time. Cardiff, Connacht, interesting. They're a lot closer on the log, 5th and 8th, with 2 points difference on the log.
But Connacht didn't play last weekend, so technically,
but I do think that the home ground advantage is going to make the difference.
You think?
Yeah, I think so. It's because it's not like a derby. It's and I feel Cardiff wants to prove a point because last year they were also not. I think they missed the playoffs last year by. I think they finished 9th. So it's a difficult thing to be in when it comes to this. At the moment, they're 5th. They haven't looked that bad. Played 1, lost 1. But the difference is their points difference is pretty good. They've got a 10-point difference, which means that the game that they won handsomely. So I don't think Connacht is going to pitch up and massacre. And on paper, probably the favourites would be Connacht. But I feel that there's been a shift in Welsh rugby, and we discussed this last season during the Six Nations, or earlier the year during Six Nations. There's a shift in Welsh rugby. It feels almost like they're starting to get this belief that they are not the worst players in the world and don't have the worst teams in the world. And all of a sudden, I mean, like we mentioned earlier, the Ospreys came here to play rugby. They came to South Africa to play rugby, and they played rugby because, I mean, as a Stormers supporter, I was shitting bricks for most of that match. And I'm pretty certain the Bulls the weekend before that were in the same boat because it was like you just think you get away from them and then they're back in the game. Then you think you get away from them and then they're back in the game. And I think with Cardiff as well, I'm going to edge Cardiff on this. I feel Cardiff is it's not going to be a big win. It's probably going to be a 5 to 7 pointer win for Cardiff. I think home ground advantage is going to push them through, and I think Welsh rugby needs their teams to pitch up. And so far, credit to the Ospreys with their tour here, although they didn't win a match, they did look promising. And I feel that Cardiff as well at home. I think it's an easy win for them on Connacht.
Did you lock in your Super Brew picks, Ed?
Yes, I did indeed.
Okay, so let me give you my 2 cents then. Look, I think Cardiff probably are the favourites for the game. I don't know why though, because I think Connacht also has Bandi Aki that'll probably be back if he's not. I don't think he's injured. That'll be coming back. I know Connacht is probably one of the. Not the best of the 4 Irish unions. I think between them and Ulster, they fight for bottom place. But Cardiff lost their coach, and correct me if I'm wrong, Cardiff lost their coach was it 5 days before the UFC started? What's his name? Matt Sherton or something like that. He joined the Welsh the national team as an assistant coach or whatever. So I don't know that Cardiff will have it in them to I look, they've had a one already. They've beaten the Lions, which is it's not the best team to beat, but I actually think Connacht can go for it. I think they're going to do it. We've seen how Connacht how well they can play at times. They've just beaten Benetton, and we've just spoken about how good Benetton can be. And I think they beat him with 10 points or something. So 10 or 15 points, whatever.
It was 13, yeah.
13, yeah. So I think, in my opinion, I think Connacht gets the job done against Cardiff. Cardiff hasn't been looking bad at all. I think Connacht's just gonna have too much for them.
Oh, interesting. So we're splitting on this one. Yeah, I'm definitely going Cardiff. I'll actually tell you what my pick was. My pick is Cardiff by 7. And my
7.
pick is purely based on home ground advantage. And yeah, I definitely think that. I don't think
I think according
Baniaki.
to the bookies, Cardiff are the favourite. I actually checked now on the SuperSport app, and it looks like they are. But I still think Connacht are gonna do it, get it done.
Okay. Then moving to the last match, also 8:45. The Bulls playing their first away game at the
Against Ulster.
Afidea Stadium. You know, the Bulls set off this URC like a house on fire. The big thing that I'm looking at when I'm looking at this, the Bulls side, and this is where it gets very interesting for me. It's the Bulls versus Ulster. Ulster currently 7th on the log, played one only. They won that match. And then obviously last weekend they didn't play. But I'm going to look at the two teams in the top 2 positions, which is the Bulls and the Stormers. So the Bulls obviously went and got bonus points for both their matches, which is fantastic, because that's obviously what you want. You want the bonus points because at the end of the season, that 1 or 2 games that you do lose compensates in bonus points.
Yeah.
But here's an interesting stat, So points for the Bulls is 92. Points against is 71. Whereas
that Leinster game.
Yeah, and then you look at the points difference is only 21. So the Bulls are scoring a lot, but they're also being scored against a lot. Yeah. It's almost like the Bulls, they're playing Rugby like a young guy fights, He's just going to rush in and he's going to take the hits as well and everything, When I'm looking at the Stormers, it's almost like they've got a bit of composure. And I don't know if John Dobson maybe he slipped on a tile or something and he started coaching properly again. I'm not sure. But points for 61 and points against 10. Our points difference is 51 of the 2 matches, where the Bulls is only 21. But then looking at Ulster, okay, who's only played 1 match, okay, their points difference is also 21. So they're going into this at home against the Bulls, but the points difference is exactly the same.
Yeah. And they've got Troki. They got Troki that started playing for them as well.
Yeah. So what we need to look at for me in this is Ulster at home. You are not going to be able to play that style of rugby, because what I'm trying to prove with this is 1 game played, they scored 42 points. I think they were actually the team that scored the highest amount of points in round 1.
Yeah.
And they don't concede. They don't concede as much as the Bulls do. It's almost like the Bulls rely on it. I call it Rocky mentality. Let them run their game, and then we'll get them in the last 10 minutes when they're completely tired. And then we'll let Sebastian run like a crazy person, whatever. Do I think the Bulls are probably going to take this? Yes, and I'll tell you why. The new coach, I feel there's something in the Bulls that hasn't been there. There's a confidence in their play. You see the young guys all of a sudden playing marvelous rugby. I mean, if I look last season, I rated Sebastian de Klerk very highly, and I was surprised he didn't get a Springbok call up.
He probably still will, but he's.
But I'm looking at him this season, and from last season to this season, it's like there's at least been an 80% increase in his play style. It's almost like the Bulls are just enjoying rugby. It's not like they bound to this whole Jake Whiteness. It's like they're enjoying rugby. Ulster in Ireland, though, any team that you go play on their home field, especially if you take your big nations, I mean South Africa, New Zealand, Australia, Ireland, any team you're going to play with, is Irish or one of the club sides, you're having your hands full. Passionate rugby supporters, they're going to pitch up for that game. You're going to have them in your ears the whole time and all that, So, like this, I hope the Bulls win, but I think it's going to be tight. My prediction for the Bulls, let me get it up here for you. I said Bulls by 5.
Look, I don't think you're far off. I think, I agree 100% with what you said. I think the Bulls looked very good at times, but there's obviously some teething problems with Johan Ackerman, and we know it's only going to get better from here, and Ulster were looking good in that first game. I know that the second game got postponed, but I do think that the Bulls are going to do it. If we haven't seen the teams yet, I'm hoping that Andre Pollard starts. I mean, if you can look at the potential backline that they could put up this weekend with Andre Pollard and
Managing that backline, it's gonna be
Papier, with Papier on 9, Andre on 10, you've got Sebastian de Klerk on 11, Jan Serfontein on 12, David Kriel. I think if you're talking about a Bull player that deserves a Springbok call-up,
for sure.
definitely him. Kanan Moody on 14, your favourite player, and then Willie Leroux on fullback. You got if you look at your 10, Andre Pollard is probably one of the best tactical kickers there is, and you've got a Sebastian de Klerk and a Kanan Moody who are unbelievably good under the high ball. That's all we need to do. That's all we need to do. Let Andre just put, let him hang, let Kanan and Sebastian contest. I do think that should be the game plan. And then Willie Leroux is just a master tactician. We saw last weekend when he came on what a difference he made against Leinster. So yeah, that's a dangerous backline.
Look, and then we also need to consider, we're talking about Ambrose Papier, but I mean, the Bulls also bought Paul de Wet from the Stormers,
Yeah.
and he was last season was one of the players that stood out for the Storm. So I feel that a Paul de Wet playing alongside a Pollard would be just as beneficial. But I think they're going to probably want to ease into it a bit. I think, Papier and Pollard have played some games together in the past and stuff like that. So, look, I feel that if the Bulls continue on the road that they're on and they can keep outscoring the opposition the way they do, and they're fine with playing that high-scoring, low-margin rugby, it's exciting to watch. I mean, because who doesn't want to watch a game where there's 120, 130 points scored each game? I mean, that's what we want to see. If they can continue down that, they could stand a chance. And at the moment, and I'm not saying this because we're South African, but at the moment the Stormers and the Bulls are looking very polished. And if they can keep their injury count down, and not lose players due to injury, I think we can potentially maybe even see a Stormers Bulls final.
Yeah. Look, I think if the Bulls and the Stormers have to play tomorrow, I think the Stormers take it by far. I think the Bulls have a lot to work on. Their scrums are not what it's supposed to be. I mean, the Bulls used to have the strongest scrum in the URC, and they struggled against Leinster with that. And then, like you said yourself, the defence, and just sometimes, I mean, that game against Leinster was at times an eyesore to watch. Things just not happening when it feels like it's supposed to be on.
Yeah, it had a lot of dead spots. It was like
Yeah.
We looked at it and went like, "What the fuck are they doing?"
Yeah. So I think the Bulls will only get better, especially with the squad they have. I mean, Jake White gave Ackerman the best squad. I mean, that's like a man just buying a Ferrari. His wife calls him cheating. Takes a Ferrari and gives it to the new man. So and that's what I think happened. Ackerman can be very thankful for the team that Jake White actually bought for him in a way. But I think they will get better. Like I said, I think it's a teething issue. I think that come closer to the end of the season, we won't even be looking at the mistakes they've been making now. I think they will get a bit polished. And I think Andre Pollard's experience as a leader, I mean, he's a leader figure in the Springboks. That experience that he brings to the Bulls is going to be game changing as well.
Yeah, I mean, between him and Willie. I mean, yes.
I mean,
if you look at their senior, if you look at their senior members, you're looking at Akker, who's been around the block, as well. Still part of that side. It's almost like the experience versus the junior players and whatnot. It's almost like they've got the best balance in the South African of all the South African franchises, where the experience almost complements that rawness of the young talent that they've got. And like I mentioned, Willie Leroux, I feel Willie Leroux is baked on an international level, but on a club level, he's obviously beneficial if he's gonna
It's cool,
take,
calm, and
yeah,
collected. Yeah.
and with that potential that, well, the rumors that were on the mill, with Quainon going to potentially making a move to the Bulls. I mean, if he can get a season or two alongside Vili, Vili probably one of the best attacking fullbacks that you would want to play alongside, to an extent. Um, it will probably obviously develop Quainon. Obviously, I can't remember who the reserve fullback is. Devin Williams, right? Devin Williams
he's
is,
starting this weekend.
yeah,
Fuck, I don't know. We haven't seen
he's
the team.
listening. He's listening focal to what Vili's saying, because it doesn't seem like he's listening to what anything's saying. I think he's probably watching YouTube videos while they're coaching, because for me sometimes it seems that he's completely doesn't have any idea where he is. But yeah, I think it's
Look,
a fun weekend of rugby.
I think. Yeah, it is. Look, I've just realized that we've been carrying on about the Bulls back line, and we haven't even mentioned the forwards in the team, prefer the biggest and strongest forwards in the URC, that are coming back. We've got a Volker Low that's still coming back, Ruan Orkeo, who I hope gets his start. Then we've got the injured players like Ulrich Low, who I think is such a prospect. It's so sad that he's been out for so long. And then Cameron Hanekom, I think, is going to be the best 8 South Africa has seen since Dane Vermeulen, when he actually gets a proper start, a proper chance. I know he's had one cap, but I think he's got 20 minutes of Springbok game time, if not less.
Yeah, you can only be like Dwayne Vermeulen if you don't get injured by stupid things. Dwayne was real steel, boy. He was.
I don't know. I really, really like Cameron Hanekom. I love him as a prospect. I think he's such a brilliant player. I love Evan Roos as well. I think Evan Roos is such a good player. But to me, Cameron Hanekom is that guy. He's that guy. He's got that superstar aura around him, And I think as soon as he starts wearing the green and gold a bit more regularly, I think he is going to be a superstar. He just has that like I said, that aura. But yeah, I think that's a good note to end it on. I don't know if there's anything more you want to say.
A positive note for the change. Yeah, well, I won't spoil the positivity. I do always have a lot to say, but I won't spoil the positivity. I just think you're wrong. I don't think he is.
Well, it would be a boring podcast if we agreed on everything.
Well, if we agreed on everything, you would probably be right, because you would be agreeing with me, So
we'll see.
Yeah, Brenton, enjoy this weekend's rugby. I'll see you after the weekend, and everybody that's going to be watching rugby and driving around, be safe. And then we'll see you next week for a review of this weekend's rugby.
Saturday or Sunday, whatever.
Yes. Cheers.
Cool. Cheers, guys.